doing. Mike Tyson has a podcast called Hotboxing, and his guest a few weeks ago I stumbled across was LL Cool J. So LL Cool J, the hip-hop MC king of the 80s, and Mike Tyson, the heavyweight king of the 80s, both friends back then. Both came up around the same sort of time when hip-hop was underground music and was sort of disregarded. Tyson believed in hip-hop, so did LL, and they knew it was going to be a multi-billion dollar industry, and look where it is now. And at that time, Tyson believed in himself, and he knew he was going to become the undisputed heavyweight king. So this podcast is like, let's have a look, 96, like 30 years later, and just reflecting on their lives and what they've been through. I think it's really interesting, definitely worth a check out. For example, Tyson asked LL Cool J where's his genealogy, his lineage from, whatever, and LL Cool J explains that his mother was adopted, and he recently did some research to find out that she was her family are from a group of families who were not slaves, so they were freed from slavery. So they've been what you call a free man for a long time. For those who don't know, there was a massive slave trade in America back around the 1600s. So Tyson goes on to explain that LL Cool J goes on to explain that recently he found that his grandfather goes by the name of Nathan Christie Lewis, who was a boxer, and his grandfather's brother goes by the name of John Henry Lewis, who was a light heavyweight champion. This is in the Joe Louis era, around that sort of time. And it gets even better. LL Cool J goes on to explain that in the 1700s, like the late 1700s, he had a relative called Tom Molyneux, who was a bare knuckle boxer. So when LL brings this up, Mike Tyson's head blows, and he goes, come on, LL, tell him about this guy. If you don't tell him, I'm going to tell him. And LL's like, well, Mike, you tell him. And Mike's like, well, I'm going to cry, because Mike loves, the history of boxing. He's a student of the game. He wasn't just a boxer. So Tom Molyneux was a slave, a bare knuckle boxer in slavery, and he boxed so well while he was a slave against all the other slaves that his slave master freed him, gave him his papers, and gave him $500. So $500 is worth about $10,000 in this day and time. So he became free, and as well as being free, he was known as a good bare knuckle boxer. And at that point, Mike Tyson wanted to say that Tom Molyneux could be any man in America in a bare knuckle fight, which is what he did according to Tyson and LL Cool J. So good that he travelled to places like Australia, beat all the best fighters there, and then went to beat the best fighter in the world, a guy called Tom Cripps in England. According to Tyson, he tells a story that Molyneux was beating the guy, but the powers that be, the promoters, the people behind the scenes, didn't want to see their Tom Cribb beaten, so they got a lead pipe, bust it on Molyneux's head, and that resulted in Cribb winning the fight. And also, that Molyneux was so highly regarded as a fighter back then that white slave masters were betting on Molyneux to win that fight. So after that, Molyneux goes on to become depressed and dies in Ireland. So he may have children in Ireland, whatever, because he had children. And really interesting. And LL links that in with his love that he's always had for boxing. So obviously, watching fights when I was younger, you always see LL Cool J at the fights or referencing boxing in his tunes, so on and so forth. We talk about other stuff. We talk about indigenous tribes. Should they be westernized or should they not be westernized? They both had opposing views. Interesting. We talk about Frank Sinatra, how we met him when he was younger back in the 80s and how he was a cool cat. We talk about Floyd Mayweather's unbeaten record. I'm not going to go into that, but they question the credibility of his unbeaten record, and they compare it to other fighters who've had like 105 fights and lost 2 fights at the end of the 105 fight reign. So if you don't know, Mayweather was 50 fights unbeaten, and the point they're making is that the other fighters would fought to like maybe 98 fights and lost on the 98th fight. So really good podcast. Interesting is obviously back in the day when Tyson came out of prison, so him and LL Cool J were good friends. LL Cool J had a rap beef with a guy called Cannabis. I'm not going to go into that too much, but when Cannabis dissed LL Cool J, a really good song called Second Round Knockout, Cannabis had Mike Tyson on the chorus saying all this war talk. Yo, Cannabis man, eat MCs for lunch, for dinner, and whatnot. I guess Ella wasn't too happy because Ella responded and dissed Tyson. But in this podcast, they're both grown men. We didn't even discuss that. They probably squashed that beef ages ago. I'm sure it was nothing too serious. They talk about relationships with women as well, and they have a great laugh. And they're both historians. They both study a lot of like ancient cultures, both very knowledgeable people. So like I said, if you're a fan of Mike Tyson, you're a fan of LL Cool J, check it out. It's called Hotboxing. Just go on YouTube, just type Mike Tyson LL Cool J. I'm sure it'll show up. If not, I will leave not if not, for definite, I will leave a link below in this comment section. You can just click on it and listen to yourself. It's 1 hour and 45 minutes long, and yeah, it's a really good listen. So that's me. This is MSLB, Mark Sterling Boxing. Leave your comments below. What do you think about Tyson LL Cool J's thoughts on Floyd Mayweather's unbeaten record? What do you know about Tom Molyneux? Have you heard about him? Do you want to know more about him? I'd love to research it myself. And please like, share, and if it's your thing, subscribe. Peace and I'm out. Have a good day. Bless.